guys, welcome once again to another Professional Goblins podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Scott, and with me, as always, is
Mike Myler.
And joining us today, Rob, you want to introduce yourself?
Robert Brookes from Encounter Table Publishing.
So yeah, we got a pretty awesome show. We got a really full show today, I'll tell you that right now. So yeah, let's just kind of jump into it today. Robert, I don't know if you've watched this show before, but we do not do the reviews ourselves.
We don't.
Okay.
No.
We would never. Yeah, we would never do that. You know, people working in the industry, we could never honestly and fairly review a product. So clearly, all products are reviewed by.
Oh God.
Cool Shredder.
And Batbro.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean that
Yes.
makes perfect sense.
Today we are reviewing a product from last week's guest. Adam Mayer was on the show from Drop Dead Studios. And he gave us Vigilantes of Skyborn. Do you want to start or should I?
Go for it, man.
Okay, well, there are a lot of archetypes. One is like an Iron Man light. Another is you get possessed by like a spirit. And these are all for Vigilantes. The Sky Marine is about being a cool sky pirate. If anybody remembers the Trick Shot class from the fighter book in 3.0, they have one of those called the Uncanny Archer. And then a bunch of racial archetypes, which I liked a lot because I wrote a lot of the races for Skyboard, including the Fangquan Eben Phoenix, which is really neat. The Sharuf they're all about like popping back up and exploding. The Sharuf Lava Walker, which is all about using lava, which I was a big fan of. And they're like dinosaur people, so it all fits. The Reimagined Created, which is really neat. It's a vigilante that is of the race that like literally was constructed out of undead parts, so you can change around what parts you have with this archetype. And then the Quasage Wing Terrors, which I really like because the Quasage are this really neat, philosophically mystical winged race, and original as far as those go, in my opinion. Then there are class archetypes that grant you vigilante abilities, luchadors, rangers, alchemists, fighters, and then prestige classes. I really like the Hellsworn prestige class, but
cool.
they are not fucking around, dude. 1d6 untyped energy to attacks that ramps up to 5d6 might be a little too good. Because I'm thinking like, oh, I'd play a dagger thrower and just it's like 7 5d6 plus 1d4. The Shrouded Captain was really neat. That's exactly what prestige classes should be. So you're a sky pirate, and part of your abilities are about protecting your crew and, you know, raising the Jolly Roger and being a sky pirate, but it was much more comprehensive, and a prestige class should really solidify your character's role in the world, and that did a perfect job. A+ on that prestige class. More spheres of power rules and options for vigilantes. I think about 6 pages, counting the new social talents for vigilantes. Then there's favorite class options, which I hate. I hate favorite class bonuses.
Oh,
Just
man,
take
come
your
on, don't be
fucking
mean.
skill point or hit point and get on with your day. And then there are a handful of new feats which run the gamut from wow to okay. And I will wait to give my final tally until you said your piece.
Man, I share a lot of your opinions, but certain things this book didn't sit right with me, just from a formatting perspective. That Gothic font just made me want to cry. There were sometimes I had to go copy and paste out the data. I had to put it into Google to figure out what the hell the word was saying. So be careful when you're choosing your fonts. Sometimes pretty is really nice, and trust me, as a formatter, I know this. You go ahead and you're like, man, that's the prettiest font in the world, but no one can read it. That's a new mustache. I really focused in on some of the social talents. I just wrote a social book. I gotta say, Scott Gladstone did. Some of them were really good, but a lot of them were things that should have just been either alternate rules or even just kind of hand-waved, like the one where you can make your ship your favorite area, your area of renown, didn't really sit right with me, and the one that allows you to retrain your area of renown was just like, or your identity was just kind of like, that should have been mechanics, man. But overall, I liked a lot of the classes. Some of them were short, some of them were a little longer, which I liked a little bit more. I really dug the prestige classes, like you said. I really liked the idea of a sky pirate, and a lot of this was right in there. This book has some gorgeous artwork, by the way.
It does.
It really does. Something that got a little weird for me, and I'm not a big Skyborn guy, so maybe this is a thing, but there was a lot of like really high-tech artwork, like some really like straight-up cyberpunk stuff in there, which is cool, but I don't really know if it fit the theme that well. and some of the talents got very supernatural. And I get why people like that. They want to play the superhero, but it felt like instead of playing like Batman, you were playing a medieval Batman. You were playing like medieval Superman. That didn't really work for me. Again, overall, I did like the book. I don't play enough Vigilantes to really make it a thing that I would use, but I don't know. I'll give it like a 3 or 4 out of 5.
All right. I come away with a different tally, and we'll be giving it 5 out of 5 throwing knives, but no shuriken for lack of dead turtle.
I guess
That's our review this week. All right.
So Robert, was that what you expected when you came on today?
You know, it's hard to expect that, but it's also par for course for Mike. So yes, I was.
Pretty par for the course for him. So Robert, before we get into too much, do you want to introduce yourself? Let people know who you are.
Yeah. So
you have some pretty awesome credits to your name, some of my favorites. So why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, I am Robert Brookes, as everyone has been saying. I run Encounter Table Publishing. We just released the Aethera campaign setting, which is actually going to be going out to backers way sooner than expected,
Awesome.
and it'll be for sale soon too. I also have worked for Paizo pretty regularly in the past. Occult Adventures, Bestiary 6, a million other books I probably am forgetting. Ruins of Aslant. I have one of the adventure paths in that, the second one, coming out in September.
Did you touch on Ultimate Intrigue too?
Oh yeah, Ultimate Intrigue.
Let's say,
Yeah, pretty much
Occult
every
Adventure,
hardcover. Yeah, every hardcover since Occult Adventures,
Nice.
except for the Adventurer's Guide, I've been on.
Let's say because Occult Adventures and Ultimate Intrigue were some of my favorite later Paizo releases. I like those.
Same too. They really like cracked open the game and gave me
yeah.
a lot more to do with it.
Definitely. So there you guys go. That is who you're talking to, the man, the legend. I don't know about that, but we'll call you that.
Yeah.
So anyway, as you guys know, we have a formatted show. The first segment is we talk about our favorite character, either in a game that we're currently running or a game that we've run in the past. But if we're talking about one in the past, we generally talk about a lesson we learned from that character, either as a GM or a player. I mean, it could be something that you're playing.
Learning moment.
Yeah, a learning moment. There you go.
Yeah.
Just a little more towards me. There we go. All right. So, Robert, you got something in mind, or you want Mike to go ahead and start first?
Oh, I got a story that's a learning moment.
Oh, okay. Do tell.
I've told this one on, I think, Twitter once. This is from back in the 3.5 D&D era in Eberron. This is a lesson of learning to pay attention when the GM is basically saying, "Please, dear God, don't do this. It's bad for you." I don't know how many of you are familiar with Eberron, but there's an artifact called the Husk of Infinite Worlds. It's basically like a big giant meat potato, and if you climb into it, you turn yourself into soup. That's basically the result. I mean, there's a very small chance you'll get some kind of weird aberrant power, but for the most part, it's a blender.
Sounds
and
good.
I was playing a character who was like shepherding this person who was sort of like a King Arthur kind of style. He was supposed to lead the world in the next war or whatever, and he was a half-blood Dalekeer, and the Dalekeer created the husks, and I was convinced that the husk was meant for him when we found it, and the GM was seeding all these things like, no, don't just leave it alone, you'll destroy it later or something, and I was like, no, that's misleading. So I convinced him to go into it. And I was like, oh, I can totally work this machine from the outside, because you have to make I think it was like a use magic device check or something to use it, and I rolled a 1. I turned the prophesized hero into pudding, and then promptly walked in and did the same to myself because I'm like, nope. Yeah, so that was a lesson well learned.
TPK.
Never turn your friends to pudding. Yeah.
You think that would be on the tin, but I guess not.
Yeah.
I've got a DM intent story too. So when I first joined with the group that I play in on Sunday mornings, which I've been playing with now for several years because they're good people, but I joined in while it was still the playtest for 5e, and the DM was like, "Can you make a character that gets the party has been working with this evil demigod, and I just can't get them to stop doing it. So could you make a character that helps convince them to stop?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. I'll make a bard who's good-hearted and stuff, and like didn't even make it halfway through the first game before they were like, fuck that guy, and he died. And
party?
so, yeah, the party was just like, if we have to choose between being good and what this dude says and the demigod over there, we're gonna take the demigod because he's offering us stuff.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Fucking
so
hell.
Carlos Infierendzi, my first D&D 5e character, was live for about 2 hours before the end came. So I decided to make the character I wanted next, which was Krampus the Destroyer. Krampus was a half-orc monk, and I just decided that he was like Conan's nemesis, and I wrote this like long backstory about him and Conan like fighting and trying to kill one another, and like how he's been thrown across the plains through portals and Hyperborea, whatever. And he was just like this evil brute. And we were in the that Githyanki adventure path from I think 2.0.
Yep.
2.0, yeah. And we're in like the city of the Gith, and he had this helmet he really liked. And you get in like their city is on a dead god's body, so you find these like repositories of god energy. So of course I just drank it because that's what Krampus does. He's a brutal barbarian. He was a monk, but really he was a barbarian. And then I drank too much and there was nothing else I could get from it. I started feeding it to my helmet, and by the end of that game, they had killed Krampus because once again the party betrayed me to kill my character, which is a little bit of a theme for them. And the only thing that survived, like the fall of the city, because Krampus, of course, caused the city to fall and killed the Gith god and like drank the ashes of their favorite hero or something. He was blasphemous everywhere. But Badazz lived.
Nice.
And he is now the demigod of helmets.
That's an important purview, man.
Yeah, but yeah, that's my story. Sometimes it's good to take the DM's direction, but listen to them, but don't make an NPC for the DM. Let them make their own NPCs and make your character.
All right, I always tell a different story, but I got one that kind of speaks to GM intent, and I was the GM. This was a game that was a homebrewed game, but you can equate it to D&D pretty well in terms of like HP and damage and stuff. So, actually, no, it was D&D. It was like one of my first D&D 3.5 games. Anyway, so the party is walking along the road, and they had this guy, Dale Sanal, who was with them or was with them. He was a GMPC that I convinced him was a GMPC, and for the longest time, they didn't realize he was the equivalent of basically Loki. He was fucking with the party the entire time. So Dale actually likes them, and he helps them and whatever. But there's another trickster trying to mess with them. So these guys should have known. They literally are walking across the between towns and roll some dice. Doesn't really mean anything actually. I'm just rolling to see like, ooh, to mess with them. And they see a bag of gold, a really big bag of gold, just sitting unattended, middle of the road. Now, actually, no, it was the homebrewed game, but anyway, equivalent. And I'm just like, if you guys saw that, just Jim goes, you suddenly see an obvious unattended bag of gold. What's your first reaction?
Depends on the character I'm playing, but for most of my characters, it would be to trick somebody into going and checking the bag of gold.
So, the players are like, they're a little suspicious, but not really. One guy just starts stuffing his clothing with money. And another one, you're like, I kind of look at the coin, does it have anything? They're like, no, just a normal coin. Alright, puts a few in there. One guy takes a few. 3 of the party members are like, no. We know Scott, no. And they get about 6 hours down the road, and I go, how many coins did you take? And they go, why? I go, because each one's 1d6 points of damage that goes off. And they're like,
Oh god.
I'm like, you guys have been dogged by a trickster for you guys are in a war of tricksters, and you pick up unattended gold on the ground.
In the middle of
Why?
nowhere.
Yeah, it was and it was not between cities. It was far north, nothing lives here. And they're just yeah, totally. It's just it's like giving Medusa an eye, offering to go to the Gorgon and give her an eye exam. The Basilisk give an eye exam. It's all right, yeah, nope, you guys deserve every inch of that. And we had 2 players pretty dead, one very badly wounded, and they were able to resurrect both of them. But they learned that really quick, that the tricksters are not messing around with them.
Yeah.
Mike, I'll tell that 40K story another time, because it is fluffy and GM story related. You'll get a kick out of that one.
All right.
But yeah, the next part of our show is the
favorite working projects.
Oh yeah. Mike, I hear you're working on something, maybe.
Well, I am. I'll talk about that a little at the end. It's the Book of Celestial Heroes. We just unlocked it on the Book of Exalt Kickstarter. It's really neat.
Which I just backed.
I had the most popular blog post I've ever done this week with the Star Wars D&D 5e hack. As somebody in Facebook was like, "Oh, I wonder if we could make Star Wars out of D&D 5e," and I was like, "Oh yeah, probably." And then I thought about it for a second. I was like, "Oh shit, I've already made all the tools to do this, and they're just like sitting around in free PDFs on my website." So then I spent like 2 hours, like, okay, well here's how you do it: hyperscore 1 to 4 or so, and then here's Padawans and Jedi Masters, and jump and parallels, and here's how you do a consular and lightsabers, and take the races from this guy's 46-page Star Wars document and use that. And yeah, everybody loved it. I was very pleased. And if you want to give Star Wars D&D 5e a quick try, go to my website and check out the Star Wars D&D 5e hack.
Mike,
And speaking of... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's actually a lot of fun doing conversions for stuff. I did a Dune conversion from Paizo over for Pathfinder, and I also did which actually got a lot of attention. I posted it somewhere on a board, and like...
Dune, not Doom.
Yeah, Dune.
With an N.
Dune,
okay.
like Paul Atreides. I'm a Dune fanatic. I also converted over all the races from Star Trek, which was kind of fun.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah,
no, hacks are really neat. And then somebody on Yen World was all like, "No, you can't do this." And much to my surprise, you managed to bring him around from being a troll and like engaging. So that was also very rewarding. And I got to do a drop that I've been waiting forever because Frank Mentzer at one point on Facebook was like, "Oh yeah, this is how I use nuclear warheads in D&D," and I just like screenshotted it. I was like, "Oh god, yes." And I was like, "Oh, I guess we got to tell this guy who's one of the creators of D&D like he's wrong." So yeah, that was pretty cool. But speaking about space stuff, I'm sure Robert is working on some kind of space something that he can talk about.
Me? Space? No.
Never.
No? Oh,
Never.
God.
No, never.
That's a different Robert.
Yeah, that's Robert Spaceman.
Captain Spaceman to you.
It's pronounced Spachemin.
It's pronounced Spaceman.
Captain Spachemin.
I'm working on something for Starfinder right now, but I'm fairly certain it isn't announced yet, so I can't talk about it. But for stuff I can talk about, I'm actually in the process of doing the development for the second major release for Aethera, the Intrigue Manual, which is kind of like a plug-in for all of the Ultimate Intrigue stuff that was coming out while we were working on the Aethera campaign setting. So it focuses on like the settings like factions and organizations and how to incorporate the intrigue rules into the campaign. Like, what does a heist look like in space? How do the pursuit rules work in like space combat or like for space travel? And introduces some rules for setting up and running your own or dismantling someone else's propaganda systems.
Cool.
And I actually, while we were talking, I actually got a piece of art that I'm going to put up on Facebook later from one of our artists for a propaganda poster for one of the settings factions. So I'm really excited about that. There's 4 adventures I'm developing right now for it.
Only 4?
It's only 4. They've been in the oven a while. The core book took considerably longer than expected to come out and wound up being 200 pages longer. So I didn't have time to work on the adventures and get them ready, so now they're kind of the next thing on the burner.
That's pretty cool.
And how many adventures are planned right now?
There are 5 in total that should be coming out all this year, and then I'm also working on an adventure for Free RPG Day next year that I'm going to be demoing next weekend, actually, at Jetpack Comics in Rochester, New Hampshire, which is where the Ninja Turtles came from.
Oh, cool.
Very, very, very cool.
Yeah.
All right. And Scott, what is your
So I got some stuff I can't talk about. I'll talk about in a week or two, hopefully. But so we put out Ian's thing for Free Wars. We're doing some stuff for Free Wars while we're finishing up the massive other stuff we're doing. Free Wars, if you guys don't know, is a free war game system. It's really easy to learn. This week we are putting up the core rules entirely for free on our wiki. It's not very long. Again, like, you can learn it in like 10 minutes. Use whatever you got. It's great. And we're putting out what's called Fast Wars, which is the kind of nickname for the system generic setting. But actually, the more I research it, the more stuff I pour into it, because I have a whole historical combat background. I'm like,
Yeah.
and then you do this, and then you do that, and then you this other things over here, and this actually works like it does in the real world, and how this, I'm like, all right, Scott, you have to cut down the lore to, a paragraph or two, because it's very generic, but it still works as like military principle, kind of interestingly. Man, it's really hot in here. But yeah, that's coming out this week. Rift Rider should be coming out this week too. I'm so pumped for that. In the formatting, it's so pretty. If you guys don't know, that's our Mutants Mastermind big book. Otherwise, yeah, that's all I'm working on that I can talk about.
I should have mentioned that I started to properly maintain the Time Gestalt page on Facebook.
Good.
So if you go look up, or I guess Gestalt, although I prefer the other pronunciation. But yeah, I talked a little bit about the game's concept and then how you go about character creation if somebody wants to go and look up Time Gestalt.
You let me know when that's coming out, man. That's big news.
Oh, it's gonna be a while. I'm taking a long time because it's my baby. I've been working on that thing for 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
Longer. Yeah, a long time. Anyway, that's for another time.
But yeah, anyway.
So much time.
Yeah, I know, right?
Favorite projects that we are not working on. There are 2 cool things that have come out for... I guess I'm talking about that later. So I'll talk about Crisis of the World Leader Omega, Inheritor of the Entropy Heart. So in classic comic book fashion, what I thought was the climax of the adventure path was not the climax, and there ends up being a bigger adventure for 18th level characters using the Pathfinder rules. And I mention it because that's perfect for Epicor 2099. It's just the type of like narrative that should be going on, and like actions and environments, and the power level is up there. So if you've got some operators that are nearing the top of their hyper score, then they are probably ready for that adventure. So yeah, check it out. I'll put it in the Twitter window, Twitch window rather.
So Robert, you got something you like that someone else is working on?
Yeah, it's a little ways out, but
That's okay.
I actually have been really eagerly anticipating the Construct Builder's Guidebook from Paizo.
Yeah.
I have been wanting a book like this for pretty much ever, and I'm just like keep looking at the release date and being like, don't get pushed back, don't get pushed back, don't get pushed back. That's like on the forefront of my mind right now. That and People of the Wastes. I have this like Alkenstar gunslinger western adventure that I really want to put together at some point, and that's like exactly my cup of tea.
That's pretty cool. I got something not game project related. I don't know. It's kind of related. If you guys don't know, Sean K. Reynolds is trying to make the world a better place. About the time Trump
That seems right.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty par for the course for him. But he is. He's been doing his generosity giveaways. If you guys don't know what this is, he puts it all over his Facebook. He basically takes a picture of something and goes, "Hey guys, if you want this, just comment and I'll send it to you." Every now and then I'd comment, and actually today or a few weeks ago I'd won something. I didn't even think of it, and he actually sent me over some cool minis. These are like pig orcs, you know what I mean? Like orc style pigs. Bunch of candy, a bunch of dice, some cool like model pieces. I don't know. It's really cool. Sean, you are awesome, man. Keep making the world a better place. And he does it. He does this with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, Jay Thackeray from No Direction just got Pathfinder core book signed by like everybody at Paizo.
Yeah, I saw that. That's fabulous.
Yeah.
I have down here. I still have it down here. Do I?
Yeah. Scott's good people. He's one of the reasons I'm a game designer, actually, and the whole reason that I got back into D&D because of that. Did you ever read what's it called? The New Argonauts thing he did for 3.0?
That sounds really familiar. That
It's
was
free.
a long time
Go
ago.
download it. It was a long ass time ago. I was still in
Yeah.
college. But yeah, he was like, "Here's how you make Grecian epics."
Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking brilliant.
Yep.
It was brilliant. I was like, "Oh my god, I want to play this," and then that sucked me right back in.
I can't find it, but I have one of the books written by him, signed by him. It's his designer copy.
Oh.
I gotta find that. It was something. I actually bought it off eBay when he was trying to raise some money for something. I think it was for a charity, and I bought it way back when. I don't want to get up and go look for it, but I know where it is.
Well, anyway, yeah. Check out Sean's Facebook page and
Yeah.
get in on the giveaways. I think all you have to do is comment,
Yeah.
and then you're put into a lottery, and he mails it to you, no cost, nothing like
Yeah.
that. So
That's
real
amazing.
quick, I will pop right back. My AC just came on, I think. My AC's been off all day. It is currently 106 outside, so I will be right back. I
That's
might keep
warm.
going, don't worry about it.
Well, the next part of the show is Pathfinder and Starfinder news and speculation. I'm going to keep mentioning this every single show, but somebody has collected an awesome document on Google Drive that contains all of the information released about Starfinder so far. If you're in the Twitch chat room, click on that guy and you will find many things to read. But yeah, there was a lot of blog posts this week about Starfinder and how it relates to Pathfinder.
Mm-hmm.
So who wrote the first one? The 5 differences between that.
Owen, I think.
Owen was the second one, I thought.
Owen was the second one. Was it Amanda?
This one was Robert McGreary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Hit points,
Sorry,
stand points, resolve points.
They just told me that it is actually going to be longer, but that's good.
Right.
Sorry, continue.
No, yeah, that's cool. So there are 3 types of points that you get in Starfinder: hit points, stamina points, and resolve points. Whenever you take damage, stamina points go away before you lose hit points, and then resolve represents like grit and luck. There are 2 different kinds of armor classes: energy and kinetic. That's pretty self-explanatory. There are no iterative attacks. If you want to use a full action, you can make 2 attacks with a -4 penalty, but otherwise that's it. There are only 3 kinds of attacks of opportunity in Starfinder: moving out of a threatened square, making a ranged attack, and casting a spell. That's all. And then magic is magic. There's no distinction between arcane, divine, psychic, whatever. It's just magic is magic. Mystics and technomancers get different spell lists. Then Owen did an amazing post on the actual compatibility between Pathfinder and Starfinder.
Yep.
You got to be part of the Starfinder playtest, right, Robert?
Yeah, I was. I was a part of the playtest for it. The final game looks significant. Well, I won't say significantly different, but it does look different from the playtest in a lot of good ways. They took our feedback to heart on a lot of the parts of it. It looks interesting.
Can you think of any other, like a 6th or 7th major distinction between the 2, aside from obviously starship combat?
There's a person right off frame with a knife. If I say anything, he will kill me.
All right. That's still going on. All right,
once,
cool.
if you're okay. Blink twice.
The Paizo assassins.
Yeah. Oh, but that prestige was pretty bad.
Little gnomes.
They're not little gnomes. They're they use the warehouse raptors for that.
Okay.
That's the clicking I hear.
All right. Well, then Owen did an amazing blog post about the differences or the compatibility between Starfinder and Pathfinder. So first of all, Starfinder is completely by itself a role-playing game that can play by itself, right? Don't need to include Pathfinder.
Yeah.
But there's big changes like the loss of iterative attacks, the introduction of stamina points in front of hit points, and different like armor classes and stuff. So there are a couple of major conclusions. Stuff like basic combat statistics will not be that hard to convert. You know, dealing damage, hitting an AC, saving throws, not that hard. For stuff like magic items, spells, feats, equipment, and other like player options, conversion gets a little bit stickier because there's a lot of assumptions with a space game. Like everybody should be able to get access to a spacesuit, which protects you. Basically, is immunity to cold, immunity to fire, immunity to air-based gases and toxins and shit. And if you're playing in Pathfinder, you don't get that till like what, 16th level, maybe 15th, 14th, somewhere right there. So there's those major assumptions are kind of in the face of conversions. And then they have a lot of advice on like how to deal with classes that aren't part of Starfinder. So like if you want to play a monk and do flurry of blows, they give you advice on different ways to incorporate a monk so they can do that, but they don't have like a straight here's the Starfinder monk.
Yeah.
And then for races, it's not really an issue because they've included most of the races from Pathfinder as part of the Pathfinder Legacy chapter for the Starfinder core rulebook, which covers just bringing Pathfinder into space.
And I would be surprised if you didn't see the rest of them that aren't in there over the course of the Alien Archive that are coming out.
Yeah.
And classes are going to be the most difficult thing to move over, and that's the part that's largely going to fall to GM discretion and such. In many ways, all of Pathfinder. This is a quote. In many ways, all of Pathfinder is like a series of Starfinder Unchained books. Optional rules and subsystems the GM can adapt or not as appropriate for their game and their own desire to tinker. But I will comment on that because the next one is the one I actually give a shit about. Like, I cared about the compatibility thing, but like I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
that worried about it because I'm sure they'll make a great game and that'll convert easy. I've been worried about Starship Combat, and that's the next article. So if you guys want to add to what Owen said, now is the time.
Go ahead, Robert.
Oh, I thoughts on the Starship Combat stuff too. So
Let's say one thing is I really do like the simplification of iterative attacks. It's a fun thing, but it also gets a little what's the phrase? The best it gets a bit math heavy and turns off a lot of new players. And you're like, all
in
right.
the vampire book I wrote for Russ, I think that the big bad vampire at the end has something like 11 attacks a turn.
It gets really
just
wonky.
reading the
It's
attack
really
string,
weird.
you're like, okay, wait, hold on, which bonus am I on? Like, yeah, it can be a little much.
The other thing is, I'm actually writing some stuff that's sci-fi rules, which is kind of fun. And I wrote other sci-fi rules, obviously, earlier with Necropunk, but I'm writing some of them, and one of the funny things is I was like, iterative attacks don't exist. You can take a full round. I'm like, good, convergent design. I love the way they're working on it. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the multi-HP track thing. I get why they do it.
I really loved it in Star Wars Saga. That was one of my favorite things.
I know what you're talking about. It's just
fucking
not
critical hits were critical fucking hits. It's like,
it's not quite what it was in Saga Edition, and I don't think I'm saying anything no one knows yet because they demoed it at PaizoCon. It's a little different than it was in Saga Edition, but it definitely feels like that was part of the inspiration.
You know,
Owen was Saga, so that's probably
yeah.
I just don't like tracking that much information. Whenever we're working on something, we always go, how much is the player tracking? How much headspace? How much brain capacity is it like in the front of their brain? Oh, what's the phrase for that? I forget what it is. Apparently I don't have much of it. But I don't know. What? No, there's a term for the amount of capacity you can store in your active memory. Sorry, your active memory, what you can actively cognitively function on or keep in your brain. Your active memory is very small actually. So when you have a character with HP, BAB, AC.
Well, they're only gonna have one attack now.
I know. So it's gonna shift it a little bit, but still keeping track of all those. That's a little bit more to keep in your active memory, and that's the only part that makes me kind of squint a little bit at it. But otherwise, it sounds really fun. I like the
From
changes.
a design perspective, that's one of the reasons I prefer to do Pathfinder design over 5e, because you can get this like small little tornado of bonuses, and you control the size, and that lets you modulate the level of drama much easier than in other games, because they've really hit that simulation hotspot. But Starship Combat. So in previous episodes, I've talked about how I think Starfinder is going to be either made or broken by how good their combat in space is. And Ian World went to UK Games Expo, and Russ got to sit down and play some. So there is a great article on Ian World that you can read that I will link in the chat window, but I'm just going to read the best parts to you now, and we're going to talk about it. The party must work together to control a single ship rather than acting independently, and each member takes a role that is distinct from their regular class, such as pilot, engineer, or gunner. When combat breaks out, the different roles act in their own phases, starting with the engineer deciding how to modify the ship's power grid for the upcoming turns. Next, the pilot decides how to move the ship around in an expansive hex grid, and many of the abilities and actions of Starship Combat are designed around shifting arcs and lining up broadsides. So they kind of need the hex grid, because otherwise it's a little difficult to convey those details. And then finally, the ships open fire upon one another, and as with conventional combat, this involves attempting to roll well enough to blast through the target's shield, much skill coming from picking up the right choice of weapon and the order to shoot them in. Conventional combat our playthrough felt like a strange mashup of Pathfinder and a grid-based version of Games Workshop's classics Battlefield Gothic, which means nothing to me, but sounds good because I like Games Workshop. A full party of 5 or more will have access to a captain and science officer, each of whom can provide buffs and bonuses. And he concludes, like, it might be an issue for some gamers, but when we finally blew the goblinoids apart and prepared to board the wrecks, we still celebrated. While it may not quite feel like Pathfinder combat, it did manage to capture the air of teamwork, planning, and leadership that makes the battles in Star Trek so exciting, which is super encouraging. Ordering the engineer to boost the engine so that the pilot can pull off a stunt maneuver, line up the enemy's weak spot for the gunner, is satisfying in a way that is hard to explain. And most importantly for me, the aim for an adventure is that around 1 in 10 encounters will be space combat. And I say that as the most important, not the part that makes me most excited, because I was thinking it was going to be like more 1 in 3 or 1 in 4. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
I I think that's a good balance, the 1 in 10, because the Starship Combat is significantly different from the regular game in terms of like its feel. That Ian World talked a bit about that. It feels a little bit like a board game. There are definitely some rock paper scissors elements, sort of kinda. So I think that it's a seasoning that's best used sparingly so that it has more punch when it does show up. But you can easily build an entire campaign around the Starship Combat rules if you really want to have like a space battle heavy thing. So Starfinder's version of that is pretty interesting. I can talk more about the parallels between what I did too later. But we had very similar ideas for what we wanted to do. Very, very similar ideas.
Well, you had Thirsty over there. That probably didn't hurt.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, two thoughts come to mind. First, you guys ever play Skies of Arcadia?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, beat it.
Oh, I
Took me
fucking love it.
forever.
Yep.
Fucking destroyed it. I was so happy. I was like 28.
You
I was
guys
like, this is
remember
the highlight
those?
of my fucking year.
Remember those, like the ship battles and that?
Yeah.
They were used against bosses mostly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's kind of the scale they're looking at for ship combat 1 in 10. Maybe it's a little bit more common than Skies of Arcadia had it, but still, I kind of like that. I really do. The part that I like less is that it's a very separate game using different game boards and everything. And I get why they're doing it. It just there's a little. I like to see my stuff transferred again. We
The part
actually.
that fills me with trepidation is like, I thought it was going to be good enough that it would be like a 20% of the time thing. Making only 10% of the time thing makes me feel like, oh god, maybe they're not as confident about it as they should be.
I don't think it's that. I think they're pretty confident in it. It's just it's an investment to play the space combat stuff, and not everyone might be entirely on board for it. So I think it's going to be kind of a see how the response is to it, and see how much people like having space combat in their adventures, and then they can always add more. But it's kind of like making soup. Once you've made it, you can't unmake it.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
One of the things I'm kind of concerned about is like, so I take a feat or a talent or whatever, and I'm building myself towards, I don't know, being some kind of weird, I'm being an engineer. Like, man, I really want to do some great stuff in ship combat. I want to be that guy who can really mess with that power grid and really make myself do the cool stuff. But then if it's 1 in 10, is that really worth taking any support stuff?
Well, you see,
for?
that's when you relegate it to one of the like a lesser stat boost, like a trait or something, as opposed to a
Yeah,
feat.
I mean, like, I'm wondering how that works, because it's like, if we're gonna go ahead and be able to ramp it up to a full thing, am I gonna have that option? Is it not? I mean, the way I would do it would be, things have secondary benefits, like feats might have or in spaceship combat it works like this, I don't know.
We'll see.
Personal design ethos, I guess.
one of the things you talked about in there about how it kind of scales out to a different grid style, that it kind of reminds me of the old like PS1 era like RPGs, where it was like, here's you in battle and then here's you in the town, and it's two totally different styles of graphics. Now you're a cube with arms. It was one of the things that we didn't, it's the one area we don't overlap in between Aethera and Starfinder, is we kept the square grid, and the combat rules kind of just move directly from like you're on foot to you're in a ship, where you can just turn your ship around and fight people on foot with it if you want to. I think you can still do that in Starfinder too. I'm just not sure how it integrates with the grid system or their hex grids, but it's interesting to see where we lined up and where we diverged.
Yep, I did the Necropunk campaign setting, which is a biotech future thing, way back when, and we did, that was years ago, 6 years, 5 years ago?
Yeah.
4 years, something like that. Anyway, and we did something similar with our ship combat. We basically just said everything scales up a little bit. And that setting has a lot of small ships for a few reasons, so it actually, you could literally put your most ships on the thing, except for some of the really big ships, but even the capital ships would be like colossal creatures maybe.
Yep.
So it's like, and because they're literally living, they actually have capacity to be like, you can treat this like a creature, except you're controlling it.
That's the same thing we do.
Yep.
Yeah.
With some modifications, but that's basically how you work it. So again, I'm interested to see how they do it, but I'm a little hesitant saying that much of a chunk, and you were talking about the overworld before. Yeah, I kind of see that a little bit.
Yep. I'm interested to see how they tie it into Starfinder Society too. I know.
Yeah.
I'm sure Thurston is probably sweating hearing me mention that, but yeah, I'm curious to see how in an organized play how everyone having their own ship is going to work. I think it'll be interesting to see how the Gen Con games go.
Is there a Starfinder special yet, or are they?
I don't know. That sounds familiar, but nothing's been announced.
And the
Oh, and I
Raptors
might
are
end
gonna
up
go
making
Rose.
it to Gen Con this year because I saw who is it? Oh shit, the people who make Splinter, End Mission Games or something like that. I met them last Gen Con and I liked them. They're nice people and they're looking for people to run their booth and stuff. And they were offering not just a ride from the tri-state area, which includes Pittsburgh, but space in their hotel room and per diem and a badge.
Hey,
Yeah,
that's
I was
better
like,
than sleeping in a
"Son of
van."
fucking bitch, I'll do that.
I don't know. Mike
Somebody's
loves
gonna
his
give me
van.
a ride and all that stuff. No, because it cost me like about $80 in gas just to get out there.
Yep.
So, yeah, I might be at Gen Con this year. We'll see. Any other Starfinder, Pathfinder? Oh God, we didn't even talk about Kingmaker. Jesus.
Let's talk about that in the Kickstarter section, Mike.
Yeah. Oh, did you move it down? That's why.
I
Okay.
didn't move
I
it
thought.
down. I didn't touch the Kickstarter section.
Oh,
I
did
added
I move
something.
it down?
That's it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I thought I had a whole bunch of things. Oh, I guess we just talked about that last week. And I just got myself confused.
Oh, okay.
All right. So we're out of Pathfinder, Starfinder news this week.
Yeah.
Good? All right. D&D 5e. The Stream of Annihilation is the next adventure path from WotC. It's I don't know. I was disenthused because I literally the guy we had on last week. The last thing I wrote for him was a zombie dinosaur adventure, and that is apparently what Stream of Annihilation is. So, fuck you, WotC. So that's going out in
Design,
September
man.
2017. And then Xanathar's Guide to Everything comes out in November 2017. I guess it's going to cover all the new subclasses, stuff for DMs to expand their game, pretty much all the Unearthed Arcana stuff, which just makes me angry because guess what's not going to be OGL, everybody? Xanathar's Guide to Everything.
Fun.
So, yep. Then, Robert, I saw you were stoked about Betrayal at Baldur's Gate.
Yeah. I love Betrayal. That board game is just like my favorite, and I haven't even picked up the new expansion they just did, the West Road 4. But man, Betrayal at Baldur's Gate, that's like smashing two of my favorite things together. So I am pumped for that.
Cool.
And for those who haven't heard about it, it's Baldur's Gate and Betrayal, and that is just go into a place, it's horrible, one of you turns into a monster, and everyone dies. It's so much fun.
I love it.
It's like Dwarf Fortress. Losing is fun.
Yep.
Dwarf Fortress is a whole nother
That's another episode, man.
Yeah. All right. And then there's a new Unearthed Arcana for June. It's just revised class options for the Shepherd, Druid, Cavalier Fighter, Conquest Paladin, Celestial Warlock. So if you like those, check them out. They have been updated. And then
Wasn't my big thing.
other non-Kickstarter-y D&D 5e news. Anybody?
No, I got nothing.
All right. Okay, so other RPG business. Oh, EN World had an article, which is basically exactly what Mike has been saying Hasbro has been doing for years now, called "Is D&D Tabletop Gaming's Sideshow?" And yeah, if you've watched this show before, you will see many of the things I complain about in that article. And I really do. I think that Hasbro, not WotC, but Hasbro has decided that the thing they want to do is turn D&D into like a stamper IP license they can put on whatever video game, board game, book, comic, print, t-shirt, whatever, and
Licensing.
that they're ultimately going to phase out the tabletop part if they get a choice. Because all they see it as, instead of being, what D&D is, I think the Hasbro execs see it as just like taking our money. And it drives me nuts.
Any thoughts on that, guys? Robert, you got anything on that?
That's par for course. It's Wizards of the Coast. I mean, they market everything to the hilt, but that's a successful company has to do some licensing and marketing. I mean, I'm surprised it took Paizo as long as it did for them to really get into licensing their stuff, and that seems to be, for the most part, successful now.
Yeah.
So it's just how far they take it to one extreme or another.
I think a lot of that was they wanted to really like refine and build up the value of the IP itself, right?
Yeah. Before.
So like to make Amari and Varys like names that we or not. It's not Varys. I know it's wrong.
Nope.
The name of the
You just say names that
Valeros.
Yep.
Names
The fact
you
that I can
recognize.
even remember their names, I can't remember any fucker from D&D except for maybe Elminster and Drizzt. Like
Yeah.
that's it. That's all I can remember.
Mhm.
Unless you're talking about the gods, in which case we're no longer talking about like the IP's heroes.
Mhm.
So like, yeah, no, I think that was just like a really calm, collected approach from Lisa and Eric, honestly.
Yeah.
And yeah, all right. There's new edition of. Oh yeah, and thank you, Paizo, for being not a bunch of douches like that. New edition of Warhammer 40k is on pre-order.
Okay.
Scott, this is much closer to you
Yeah.
than me. So
I'm a little bit. This is something that I've been going on and on about. Remember, I was like, man, they keep putting out rulebooks quicker and quicker. Well, a few years back, it used to be every 4 years or so, but now it's every 2 damn years.
dude,
It's a
the
60
writing on the wall is bleeding over there.
I know, dude. It's $60 a book, and they redo the codexes. What the hell?
Dude, that's
like,
what I'm telling you. They're
they-
just like, quick, bleed the sheep now before it gets away. Like that's it.
I
That's all that's
stopped
happening.
after a while. I'm like, I can't afford this, you know. Like even when I had good money coming in, I'm like, I don't want to drop $60 every other year for a freaking book.
And then you
know?
have to buy the miniatures too.
Well, no,
Don't
the
forget.
miniature, yeah,
Oh,
well,
you have to
miniatures are
reuse your
expensive.
miniatures.
Yeah, but the problem is sometimes the codexes or the core rules basically make your miniatures just not usable anymore. Oh,
And
we're
I
actually
bet
not supporting
is
this army.
even more common in the latest edition.
Oh, so actually,
I'm telling
okay,
you.
the newest one, I did read over a thing. There's some things I liked. One is basically free play. Put whatever the hell down you want, and use this formula, and the other guy can put down that much too.
It's
Nope.
got. Is the Codex Astartes static?
In lore it is, but not in the Codex Astartes is not. It has been changed several times.
Oh,
So let's say
It's
you have to
down.
buy a codex every edition or so because, and if you don't, you have these really old janky rules that you can't really use but are still legal. And then you go to the game table and they're like, "I don't believe you. Get out of here." And stuff like that. Again, I did like their free play rules. They did toss a bunch of cool things in there. Now, if they could just give me codexes for free, I'd be happy. And maybe I'd play again.
maybe that's going to be like the last ditch effort when they're like, we just have to sell more miniatures, make all of them obsolete, and make the rulebook free.
I don't know, man. It burns me a bit. I was like, I used to be really into that. I used to play them all the time. Told you, I get a few good stories from GM lessons. But
I like when I'm reading the novels, I can like picture in my head people playing the game and like how the novel probably came about with certain sequences.
yeah, and it's
And it is
freaking cool when
pretty
you
neat.
play it.
Yeah.
When improbably awesome things happen. When I had a whole round of an apocalypse game, take a shot at my Chaos Warlord Chaos Lord. They shot it for an entire round and it survived for some goddamn reason. And I'm not half a table, and I'm not talking about like piddly guys. We had half a table of Tau shooting at it, and it just survived everything until the last thing. But it took up an entire table's round of.
No, it's compelling, and there's a lot of
it's so much
infrastructure
fun.
too. Like, there's a place called Legions over on Route 19 in Pittsburgh, and they have like a full fucking battleship that you can play in,
Oh yeah, it's
and like a
so
bunch of
damn
other
cool.
tables too. But like, yeah, it's at this point, I think that they're just squeezing the rock as hard as they possibly can because they know
Man, the
that
only
it's
blood
about
that's gonna
to
come out is from their own damn hand when they cut it on the rock.
No,
Oh.
they're gonna get their golden parachutes at that point.
I know. It bugs me. It's such a great IP. It's such an interesting game. The mechanics are
another-
actually fun.
Weird and questionable move in tabletop gaming. So for those on the outside, you may not know this, but there are a couple of major distributors here in America and around the world for role-playing games. One of them is Alliance, and Asmodee North America is only going to be going through Alliance from now on, which is kind of a big deal. It's to our advantage that there are more distributors as opposed to less. So if this becomes like a trend and they cut down on Diamond and force Diamond out to being like just comics and stuff, like I don't know, it could have an impact on what you see at your friendly local game store and how many friendly local game stores can survive when it's down and the industry's distribution side has been monopolized. So for folks watching that, our peers that we work with, like, hey guys, read this one. This is
Pay
kind of
attention.
important. Yeah. On a more lighthearted note, LPJ Design has released the first adventure for the new Neo Exodus organized play, and it is totally free. And
Check
I'm
that
excited
out.
about that. I really hope that he does well. We've been trying to get this thing called 3Play off the ground forever, and everybody's a bitch about it. So I kind of hope that Lewis just taking the reins and moving forward will help everybody else get on board. We'll see. I'd like to see third-party Pathfinder organized play, though. I think that'd be very neat. Anybody else have other RPG business that's not Kickstarter related?
Other than my undying rage against, Warhammer's stuff, no, I'm good.
Nothing here.
All right.
No rage.
So now we're talking about other media of interest. There is going to be a live-action Cowboy Bebop series. By this is the real cherry for me. By the screenwriter of Thor, the last 2 Thor movies. So Scott, you should be excited. Didn't you like them?
I did, but I hated Ghost in the Shell. It was.
Oh, is he Ghost in the Shell too?
I have no idea, but we've just fucked up so many times with this. I mean,
I'm sure that it'll be almost all white people in this. Don't worry.
Well, no. Here's the thing. I don't even care about that. Even the Japanese people, when they transition something to live action, it has done there's maybe 1 or 2 I can think of that were decent.
I don't know.
There were decent ones, but most of them are complete trash.
The recent Attack on Titans live actions were pretty good.
Okay, like I said,
they were
there
much
are
better than I
exceptions.
thought they were going to be.
But I don't think this will be the exception. This isn't screaming. They really understand I've read thesis papers on this show, dude. I have literally read literary criticism, in depth, the art of loneliness, the use of jazz and blues and what it signifies in each damn scene. I have really gone into depth in this, and I don't think the guy who's doing Thor is really going to do that type of research and work that into it.
Here's the really easy answer on that is unless Yoko Kanno comes screaming out of the woods and does the soundtrack for this, it can go away. A friend of mine said pretty much the exact same thing, and if they aren't either using her already written music and just doing arrangements of it or getting her to recompose stuff, it's not going to matter because you can't. It'd be like watching a Star Wars fan film that doesn't use John Williams' score. It just feels off. You hear the almost Rebel theme or something. It just, the music is a character in that show.
Totally.
And if you try and just throw on, even if you use contemporary jazz or something, that's not what it was. That's not. Yeah, I have very strong feelings about it.
Shiro Wanatabe's one of his interviews. He says it was on the one of the few movies I can watch over and over is the Cowboy Bebop movie. I put it in the background when I work. He said this is East meets West fusion, and that's where the music, that's where the story, that's where the character came from. That's why you see American text and even Arabian or Arabic text sometimes next to English on this show. And if we're just American helm done chunk, it misses that, He may give it his blessing, but I'll give it my blessing if you sign me a check too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd rather see live action Fully Cooley first.
No.
Why not?
Don't even, dude.
That could be really fucking cool. Or Dead Leaves. That would be perfect to do live action.
I can see a little bit of that. Don't
Yeah,
get it.
sure.
I've written literary critiques of Fully Cooley on multiple damn levels. That is some awesome stuff.
If someone did a live action version of that show, I would only watch it if it was either done by Brian Fuller or the guy who's doing Legion right now, because I think either of them could capture the weird 100%. Because that's, I don't know,
with Legion, I thought he was going a little bit overboard at times, but he did manage to not capsize.
Yeah, it's
pretty good. It's pretty good. It gets better.
It's on my list.
Yeah.
Legion's one of the best things that's come out of the Fox side of the Marvel cinematic whatever in years, aside from Logan, I guess.
I just saw that actually last weekend. I missed it because I was poor, and it's really damn good. Everyone else, my mom and my wife hated it, but I loved it. But yeah, next on the list, we already talked about Wonder Woman a bit. But hey, guys, it's out.
Yeah.
Go see it.
I watched it. You watched it. Spoilers are about to come on because we've all seen Wonder Woman.
Wait, Robert, have you
Just
seen
saw
it?
it last night.
Oh,
I just saw it
fantastic.
last night. Yeah.
So just saw it. What are your feelings?
I thought the first two acts were pretty strong. The third act kind of goes a little off the rails into the giant CGI monster fight. And my girlfriend pointed this out, and I kind of saw it too, is that Wonder Woman did what other people said a lot, and that's kind of a little against type for her, of just like, I do what I want and no one can stop me kind of attitude. So the fact that she got kind of like told to do things and then was like, yeah, all right, it just seemed a little weird. But overall, like, I have way more positive things to say about it than negative. Like, that scene at the No Man's Land was just fucking amazing.
Oh yeah.
I loved it. I loved it, and it's the best thing DC's done since like The Dark Knight.
Yep.
I don't know if I agree with what your girlfriend, like, she can do what other people say and still do what she wants. Like, she's not like unwilling to compromise. It's kind of her whole thing is that she
I think
compromises.
it was just there was a little more compromise in some of the situations than probably would have like. But it's her first time off the island, so maybe that's like.
That's what I was about to say. This is her origin. I mean, the first bit is she is hella naive, and she comes to this thing. That's the whole first scene is she's really naive until we have that scene in No Man's Land. Mm-hmm. That is the click moment.
There's a little naivete when they first get to London. She's like, "What's this place?"
That's what I'm talking
about. I don't
yeah.
like it. You know, like nobody likes London. That's
I mean, she's not snapped the neck of Maxwell Lord decisive yet, but she gets there later.
Yeah.
But no, again, I gave a really big overview of it last time, and I won't go into
I thought
too
it was
much.
better than what you reviewed, man. I'd say this was like a 10 out of 10. This was like, for as horrible and awful Batman versus Superman was.
Yep.
This is the total opposite in quality, presentation, performance, everything.
So I got something related to that. I was in a plane flying. I just got back from New York yesterday, and they had like a GoGo in-flight app or whatever I had put in my phone to watch stuff, and one of the only things I could watch was Batman versus Superman, and I decided not to watch it.
That was a Delta flight, wasn't it?
American.
Oh wow, okay. I was gonna say because that's kind of like getting punched.
Yeah, I know. I was just literally like, man, I could watch the new Tarzan, which is really bad, or I could watch Dark Knight. I'm gonna watch the new Tarzan movie. Oh, dude, I can't stand that movie. Oh my god, it's getting so hot in here, dude. It's like over 100 outside, and my apartment's not much cooler. And they're not doing the AC.
This is fascinating. We can actually market this as watching a man cook to death.
Yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you have any barbecue sauce?
In my fridge, I can pull off my shirt and I did offer to Mike to to do this whole podcast naked today.
So, as you brought up Batman, now is a good time, I think, to bring up Chicago Batman.
Chicago Batman.
Because apparently, Chicago has a Batman that has been. Hold on, I have some quotes from this amazing article. The feeling of dread and doom that comes over the witnesses and the sense of tragedy that lies in its wake. And it looked like a flying Batmobile. I was sitting in my semi-trailer at around noon. I saw this object coming from Route 55 in Cicero. I saw it gliding and not too fast, no sound. I saw that it was not a drone and the size of a large car. It climbed higher and turned twice. I can tell you that it glided just like a bird. It went almost straight up and I lost it in the clouds, and this is the best part. Vance believes this incident has affected his life. The more I speak of this, and this is my morbid laughter, the worse my luck becomes. My mom died 3 weeks ago. I am not sure what to think at this point. So there's a dude in Chicago who thinks Batman killed his mom, and there are 14 other people with him who thinks that Batman exists in Chicago.
This is pretty legendary, man.
Oh God, I hope there is some sort of Batman spreading doom throughout the Chicago area, because that would be fucking amazing. Oh,
it kind of reminds me of like the Jersey Devil, but like not really, like in a really screwed up like way.
I don't know, man. I'm from Pittsburgh. We don't have any shit like that. There's no Jersey
You just
Devil.
have Pittsburgh.
Yeah, dude,
Which,
it's Pittsburgh.
Is its own mythological creature.
Yeah, dude. Don't get lost in the woods. Stay away from Hickville.
Isn't that most of it?
Yeah, after you get out of Pittsburgh and Philly and Erie and Penn State, and Central PA, like the universities, it's watch what you say. if you get too far out.
Let's say you know what lies between Arizona or Phoenix and anywhere else in Arizona, right?
Meth labs?
Meth labs and like coyotes, like the and drug runners, and you stick to the highway and don't turn off the highway, man. Just keep going. A lot of craggy badlands. All right, so let's move on to the Kickstarters. We got lots of those, I think.
All right, well, let's start with the Kingmaker RPG or CRPG Kickstarter because we forgot to mention that above.
Yeah, I just backed that in your thing today, so that's pretty good.
Guess who was almost spot on with his estimate on how much they were asking for? Mike was.
All right,
so they are looking for 500,000. They're at 230,500 right now, so they are almost halfway after the first day. So I feel pretty confident saying they're going to make it.
Yeah.
So so background here. My undergrad's in game development. My degree, my master's is an MBA. I've worked in the game industry. I've produced titles. I know they're getting financial backing elsewhere, probably a matching back or something like that.
I've run 6 Kickstarters and I know what the market will tolerate. And
I know, but I'm sitting there going, I've also been a backer on the previous Pathfinder Kickstarter.
This is not nearly as ambitious as that.
I know, but I'm sitting there going...
It also doesn't require any upkeep.
You're not going to Well, it does. Long story, but not as much. Okay. You do need skeleton crews to keep doing updates for a while. It's not going to a long-term thing, but...
Yeah, but nobody has to maintain a server.
No, I know. It's not as much. I can give you the breakdown to my last time I worked on one of these. But... yeah, it's one of those things where they're not asking for enough, and I think that they're hoping that they're going to overfill, and I think they will. They probably will, but
they definitely will. They're at 230,000 after the first half. I think they're going to probably end up somewhere in the 700,000, maybe with really good marketing, 800,000.
It's
probably.
Let's say it's not where I would expect this to be. I'm concerned about that.
People are gun shy because of the previous Kickstarter, which asked for the moon and then gave, I don't know, a drawing of the moon.
Yeah.
But the thing that Kingmaker has going forward is, one, Ryan Dancy is nowhere near it. Two, the rest of the team is super competent. I mean, Chris Avalone alone is just a fantastic fit for this, and he's been, I don't know if any of you were. Either of you, I don't think either of you were at Paizo Con this year, but Lisa talked a little bit about it, how he's been basically hounding her to get this game made for years. So the passion is there, and I think there's more. Trying to find the diplomatic word for it. There's more competency in the team, and just the project identity is more solid. So I mean, it's happening whether or not the Kickstarter goes through. So this is just for all the bells and whistles.
Cool.
And I mean, if you've seen the videos for it, it looks fantastic. I missed the opportunity to play it while I was there. They apparently had a demo of it at PaizoCon, but the advertising for it was there was a paper sign taped to a door apparently, and I was
that's
just
how
like,
they
wait.
did it for when I was at PaizoCon. That's how they did it for when you could sit down and play the MMO.
Yeah.
Adam was on last week, and he was saying he was saying.
He was stuck in the dealership the whole time.
Yeah,
I think.
but he was saying that he saw the videos of it, but now we can see those same videos on the Kickstarter page. And again, I've backed it, but I'm still gun shy too.
Yeah, it's gonna take
$22. I was like, yeah.
It's gonna take a lot to wash the taste of Goblin Works out of everyone's mouth. That just didn't manifest in the way people wanted, and honestly, to quote Deus Ex, we didn't ask for this. So I'm stoked.
I backed. Other people should back it. I think.
Yeah. It's going to be what everyone hoped Pathfinder Online was going to be, and hopefully it means that we'll get other adventure paths, especially some of the weirder ones, picked up. I would love to see a Mummy's Mask or something.
Dude, I've just been dying for another equivalent to Neverwinter Nights or Neverwinter Nights 2 game, and I know this isn't quite the same layout. But I think because I don't have to suffer through fucking Thaco, that I'll be able to enjoy this game. Because I bought Baldur's Gate 3 times, including the Advanced Edition, hoping that they'd fix the goddamn user interface, and it still sucks nuts. But if I can control the stats in a sensible way, using the Pathfinder rule set, I think I will be able to enjoy the game. So
What I'm really curious about, and this is more from like a professional standpoint, is they've kind of mentioned teasingly that they figured out a way to use the OGL material in a video game without like getting the wizard ninjas on them. Because that's been kind of like the holding block to prevent a direct conversion OGL game for the longest time. So I'm curious whether they're filing the name off everything and just keeping the general basic mechanics, like, power attack is now power punch or something, like, it's just different enough where they can get away with it, or if there's some other kind of legal chicanery going on where they need to like balance stuff out. But I'm actually really interested to see how they did that.
So my money is on not filing off the names, because they have a bunch of spells they have to reference and a bunch of other things they need to reference, and they're already told us, like, there's an Inquisitor you can play, there's an Alchemist you can play any of the 8 base classes, right? I think what they did was they were like, this is a D20 system, it's now a D1000 system. So our mechanics are tied to different languages, so that's a D. That's kind of what I think they want.
Or, I mean...
Because otherwise, I don't know. And then that way, on the player interface, it can still look like, oh, my strength is an 18, not my strength is effectively a 56, which is the same thing as an 18, but...
See, I think they actually... We keep talking about the... I don't want to say goodwill, but the less infighting between Wizards and Paizo.
Yeah. Oh, this would be a Hasbro
yeah, I know it's a Hasbro thing, but it may... They have a lot of people who help work on the OGL itself. Like Ryan Dancing wrote a bunch of it. I mean, you gotta be, you gotta know that there's, if anyone can wiggle around that, it'd be them.
Yeah. I think they came up with a creative way for it. There was a tweet that Chris Avalon put out, and I think it might be hinting to some of the serial number filing going on, and that he was talking about like. Oh, I can't remember what it was. It was like shock damage and something, and I'm like, wouldn't that be electricity damage? But is that a clever way of circumventing the nomenclature of it? So I'm interested to see how it actually like rolls out.
I see what you did there. Roll.
Because I think that's gonna open up a window for other people who want to do the exact same thing too. So
we'll be finding out in August of next year when the Kickstarter ends.
Yep. So next up we got the Culinary Magic Cookbook. What?
Oh, we're talking about his next? Okay, that's fine.
Oh.
Yes, the Culinary Magic Cookbook.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought yours is up next.
No. This is another one I pledged to. And actually, we're going to have Alex Shanks Abel, the guy behind it, will be our guest next week. So we will talk about it more in depth.
So this is actually his... Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I actually contacted him. He gave me this whole statement on it. He says, I'm going to read it directly here. Flaming Crab Games is currently running a Kickstarter for a magical cookbook that features, oh my god, sorry, we're...
80 recipes that both you and your character can make. With 1 feat and investment in craft culinary, you can start making manticore chili and cream spinach at level 1. Cooking is the magic which belongs to everyone.
So yeah, they just reached
funding.
Their goal. Their base goal this afternoon. First stretch goal is character options, archetypes, feats, and magic items. And man, they're off and running, man. They're gonna be they're gonna hit this.
Well, it's funded, so
yeah. I mean, they're funded with 24 days.
Oh, what's the first stretch goal at? What's the target?
See, I will look it up actually. Character options at 2,000, and they're at 1,600. They're about 1,700. They'll hit that tomorrow. I guarantee it, man.
Yeah. Cool. Congrats to you, Alex, and we will talk about it in depth next week.
I'm sure.
Frank Metzer, who I was talking about earlier, will be kickstarting a fantasy setting this summer. I'm just quoting what I read off of that Grognar guy, Eric Tenkar. This is on his website. It looks to be a box set with maps by Darlene. Think Greyhawk with the overwhelming wargaming background. More politics, but just as dangerous. And Frank has been playing with the setting since the early days of TSR.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Frank is awesome. He's been around forever. And I'm sure it will be a major success, even with an association like Greyhawk.
Yeah.
And then the Lost Surge RPG just launched today, and I actually provided some advice on this one, because Savannah was like, hey... I guess she's one of the editors on this, or the editor. Cool. And they're like, oh, Mike, can you look at the Kickstarter page and tell us what you think? So I spent an hour, and I was like, oh, God, this is not a word. It's hyphenated. Dude, you got to do these things. Do this thing, do that thing. And so... But yeah, they're off to a good start. Was this launched today or yesterday?
Let me look. I'm currently showing it on the screen. It is it was launched 2 days ago. It's 28 days to go. But yeah, I'm showing off some of the art, dude. That's what caught me. They have some beautiful, like almost water brush, like color stuff. It's really watercolor stuff. Sorry, that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, a lot of soft pastels going on.
Yeah, it's very cool, dude. I love that.
And then
I love games that have a really. Oops, sorry.
By all means.
Oh, I was just saying, I love games that have a very like distinct and unique art style, and I think that watercolor thing is really working for them.
Mm-hmm.
And the character sheet is neat too. It's like a trifold thing, so you're only looking at the part of it you really need to look at, depending on what you're doing, right? So if you're in combat, you look at this thing. If you're doing skill stuff, you look at this one. That's cool. I like that. Yeah, it should be good. Savannah's working on it, so you know the editing will be top notch.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, we're going to talk about the Book of Exalted Darkness.
Mike, tell us
Today
about
is
this.
good-
We have no idea what this is.
Good
Please.
day for me. So anyone who's watched the show knows already what the Book of Exalted Darkness is. But for anyone who hasn't seen it, it's a book for D&D 5e about a holy decopunk campaign setting where like goodness reigns supreme and technology has flourished to bring civilization up to about 1920s, 1930s level era technology. But all their tech is powered by this stuff called Inequa. And Inequa radiates energy which elongates the lives of good creatures. So there's a justification for you playing evil bastard villains that are there to destroy the world. And in addition to that, like you get sin and sanctity attributes, so you can trick the Inequa stuff into working for you, because your evils normally wouldn't. Or you can pervert it, so like you can take an Inequa pistol, which can normally just like kind of hurt people and not knock them out. And you can overcharge it to kill people, and then after a minute, it explodes like a grenade. We're doing very, very well. I think we're at 4,200 or something. I haven't looked since the Kickstarter, since our podcast started. But yeah, we should be funding before the first or the last week starts, and we got 10 days left.
Fantastic.
And we just unlocked a backer goal. So if you are not interested in playing evil, but you like the idea of the campaign setting, there will be a 120-page do-gooder book called The Book of Celestial Heroes that you can pledge to instead. And that includes a lot of stuff. The latest project update has more information. But among the things are the Holy Troth, which I'm extremely pleased about, because I found out that troth is another word for vow.
Oh,
and I
cool.
just love the way that sounds. So yeah, we're going to take the vow and poverty and stuff from Book of Exalted Darkness and fix them, basically, so they're not broken as all hell. There's a new class called Exemplars, which are just like, archetypal heroes. So like if you wanted to be like King Arthur and have like a magic sword that's very distinctive, you'd be an enchanted warrior exemplar. If you wanted to be like Odysseus or Hercules, you'd be an epic hero exemplar. And then there's a people's champion version, so if you want to be like Robin Hood, and a monster slayer, so if you want to be like Simon Belmont from Castlevania. And
Very cool.
all of that class, the playtest for it goes up on World Builder blog, James Intricaso's World Builder blog tomorrow. So check it out. But yeah, now I'm really excited. And then, not everyone who watched this will know. I'll tell you people, our first stretch goal is to make a Shadow of the Demon Lord conversion.
That'd be
So I'm
cool.
really, really excited to hit that, because I know that a lot of the people who pledge to Shadow of the Demon Lord are going to be like, you're making a book where we destroy a holy utopia? Is that right? So, I don't know. It's going to be a crazy last week. I know that for sure. This is my sixth Kickstarter, and they've all been pretty on the seat, exciting rides. But yeah, this is the one where I expect like the big explosion to happen at the end. I'm pretty stoked.
That normally happens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you typically get about 33% of your funding on the first 2 days and the last 2 days, and I'm trying to make it more like I get 50% of my funding in the last week. And I think that might be. I don't know. I mean, we'll see how the demon Lord's minions respond. But I think it should be good.
Or you could be like the Aethera Kickstarter and give me a heart attack up until the very last minute.
That happened with.
I still remember messaging. I was like, God, dude, I'm not a fucking bot. Pay attention to this message. Do these things. Yeah. I was happy to see you made it. It was good. That was It
That was a hell of a ride.
That's a badge
Varanthi
of
was
honor,
the same
man.
way. We didn't fund till the last hour, and it was like, oh my god.
I remember messaging you like, do you need someone to like push it over and then you pay me back maybe? I don't know, man. Whatever you need.
It was crazy. It's
He
crazy.
denied. He didn't do that for the record.
No.
But no, yeah, did that with, what was it? Dragon Tiger Ox was really close at the end, and then someone got a big push on it. That was good. That was like up till the last like 3 days, and then we got it way overfunded because people were like, "Oh, it got funded."
Yep.
Once it gets funded, you're fine.
Yeah, consumer confidence makes a huge difference in Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
And for anyone who's never familiar with any of my shit, I always over-deliver on my Kickstarters. Like, always. By a lot. And my last one, we not only over-delivered, but we did it, like, 2 months ahead of time. So I was really happy. And it came out mad gorgeous. It's called 29 Wasteland. Go check it out. I think the preview PDF for it has all the classes and races for apocalyptic sci-fi D&D.
Mike, you've never talked about that.
Yeah.
Never once.
Anyway. Now we just talk whatever the hell Robert wants to talk about.
Yeah, Mike, take it away. Mike, Robert, take it away.
I mentioned earlier how I got some art from some of our illustrators for the Aethera Intrigue Manual. I just posted them on the Aethera Facebook page. They're propaganda posters set in universe, and they're 2 of the 3 that'll be functioning as like chapter introductions for the book, and they are just phenomenal. I have just been kind of like staring at them lovingly while we were talking.
You want to post them up or post a link so I can
yeah.
Actually, wait, I think I'll get it up here.
Let me grab that.
Computer doesn't work so amazingly, but we will see.
When I was doing Book of Exalted Darkness, it occurred to me that WPA was during the Art Deco period.
I got him.
So yeah. I went and I just like looked through all the federal public artworks, and I pulled like 20 things that I turned into perfect propaganda posters.
Nice.
So I just like
nice.
changing some text. It was like,
Yeah, I kind of actually talked about a lot of what I wanted to talk about, peppered through everything. I'm trying to think of something interesting. I feel like there was something on the agenda that we didn't actually touch on.
Is
that
there?
I thought there was, but maybe I'm mistaken.
I don't think we're talking about the thing. I don't know what you and Jason are up to, but I don't think we were supposed to talk about it.
Oh no, actually, I can talk a little bit about that since he probably won't beat me with sticks. At PaizoCon, legendary.
Send other people to do that, just to be clear.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He doesn't beat people with sticks by himself. No,
He's got other people to beat people.
It's a
with
group
sticks.
It'd be
activity.
Rachel's kids. It'd be Rachel's twins. They'd just show up and be like, "Want to play a game?" And then I'd just be a smear on the wall. At PaizoCon, Legendary previewed Conquest, which is going to be sort of an adventure path. It's kind of more in the style of the old Age of Worms, like Dragon Magazine era, like longer adventure paths that are like smaller books. And that's going to be like this huge dragon-centric adventure path because Paizo hasn't really done anything with dragons before. And I mean, 3.5 kind of wore everyone out on them, but I think the time's kind of right for it. And it's like Black Panther meets Skull Island is kind of our inspiration for like the setting for it. It's like, what if Magic Wakanda had dragon problems? And I'm super excited to be working on it. I'm actually finalizing the outline with Jason this weekend, next weekend, something along those lines. We want to get our authors lined up by the end of the month so that we can get the ball rolling on it. But it's gonna be really, really dialed up to 11. So if people want to do something that's just fighting every single goddamn dragon that there is, I think they're going to be really into it.
Well, if you guys are going to do any Robo Dragons, please let me know.
You know, I might work a couple Clockwork Dragons in there somewhere. There's a perfect place.
Robo Dragon. Robo Dragons are very specific. I made the Robo Dragon. It's on the cover of one of my books. I had Claudio draw it for hundreds of dollars.
I actually found
Robo Dragon.
I always go through. I have like take hours to go through like public domain stuff. Mm-hmm. Some dude, and I will not share it because I want to use it first, and then I'll share it to everybody. Put out in the public domain a robotic Triceratops with lasers on it, and it's all chrome and shit, and it's really well done. And I know, Mike, I'll give it to you once I publish something with it. I will give it to you once I publish something with it, man.
He's Googling it right now.
He can Google it, man. I had to go through like a bunch of for you to get it. I'll tell you, man. It is. It's like Robo Strux, if you know what that was.
Oh, it looks like it was drawn for a 90s cartoon. This blue thing? It's got all the blue highlights?
I don't think so.
No?
Here, I'll pull up something for you.
I've seen a couple different ones that come up with this.
Keep talking. I'll see if I can find it.
No, it's all good. I don't have any robot dinosaurs. Oh no,
Yet.
robot dinosaurs are planned for the summer. No, I do. I have something planned for the summer. It's related to Starfinder actually, but I'm not supposed to talk about it yet. So I have 2 things ready for Starfinder. I just gotta wait.
Yep.
It's on my plate, done with, and then I can fully immerse myself. But yeah.
Yeah, I just got a contract for something I can't talk about either, and I'm like, when it comes out, man. I get to write some of the fun stuff. Here it is.
That's kind of like the when you get 3 freelancers in a room, it's like, what are you working on? Redacted, redacted, and redacted.
Yeah.
Mike, can you look at the stream right now? That's what I'm talking about.
Secret project, secret project, secret project.
You see that?
It says we're offline. I don't see anything on the screen for some
What?
reason. I don't think we're offline because
We're not offline.
there's people that've been hanging out in the chat window.
Let's
It's telling me we're offline.
that's weird. Might have to refresh the page.
Yeah,
But,
thanks to everybody who came to hang out and chat.
Yeah.
with
Yeah,
us
definitely.
Did this. Oh,
It
that one.
sounds
No,
like-
I hadn't seen
Yeah,
that.
so I will. So again, I got stuff like that. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to use it for, but I'm going to use something.
That's not a Triceratops.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a
sorry,
Stegosaurus.
Stegosaurus. So again, I got stuff like that. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to use it for, but I'm going to use something.
No, you're dinosaurs,
Important
man.
to
I
think.
do, but I didn't remember what it looked like when I had it. I guess it is a Stegosaurus.
Misidentified a dinosaur. James Jacobs just broke out into a cold sweat somewhere.
But yeah, anything else you want to touch on?
No, I think that's pretty much it. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, we really appreciated you coming on. That was a lot of fun.
We managed to get through everything. That was a hell of a lot to
Yeah.
talk about.
Yeah, it was.
I thought we were gonna get like bogged down in the middle there, but no, we actually made it a pretty good time. But yeah, give Mike's thing a look, guys. Give Kingmaker a look. Go support it. This is gonna be awesome, and I'm sure once August rolls around, we're gonna be shilling out for what do you call it? For Starfinder. So make sure you stay. Come on, guys. I didn't get into the pre-release for development stuff. I was sad about that.
I want to briefly touch on how much fun I'm having being like conceited and facetious with the Book of Exalted Darkness. I thought for sure that Jason was going to shoot me down because the name of the world is Askis. I mean, Askis, but you say it and you got to say it fast. Otherwise, yeah, you laugh because like, oh, we're going to go defend Askis. Like,
I think there's a great quote that I about like the Mike Myler experience that I dropped at PaizoCon, and it's, if you're familiar with movies and stuff, like Mike's stuff is the canon films of like production. It's like the Toxic Avenger and like all of these just like complete and utter bizarre things that somehow manage to work
coming at me
together.
with trauma.
Yeah,
Seriously, bro. I don't. Oh.
Canon films, just whatever goes to the wall and it somehow all sticks. Like,
That's it.
I've gotten...
At some point, we gotta get Ian on here. Ian's the guy who shoots down the "No, you can't do that" thing. When we did Gonzo and Gonzo 2, he was like, "Hands off! You do whatever the hell you want." So that's how we got like some of the crazy shit like Battle Chef or Battle Maid and stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Once again, thanks for joining us.
thanks for having me.
Yeah,
It was a lot of
definitely.
fun.
Coming along, Rob. It's cool. We'll have you on again. I don't know. I think we're going to start cycling guests around 20.
At some,
I don't know if we know that many people, honestly.
Let's say I still got a few people in the chamber, man. We'll
We should
'em.
get Sean on here, man, and then I can not be a total fanboy in front of him for more than 5 minutes.
Sounds
That'd be
good.
really nice.
Because I talked to Owen, he said he's down when he has time.
Yeah, whenever that is.
Yeah, it's like
He said like September, and I'm like, oh,
30
maybe.
years from now as we're all
September
sheltering from our
2027.
robotic
Yeah, yeah.
overlords. Owen's going to give us a call like, hey, you want to do the Professional Goblins podcast?
Yeah, I mean, I'll find that old thing that some people used to call computers.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So thanks for joining us, and this is Professional Goblins signing off.